What is up? What's good? What's going on? How you doing? How you been? All that good stuff. So I'm gonna flip through the load board while I talk about what's going on. And I think I have a light flickering in here. I apologize. My monitors are really bright. I'm not this white in real life. um, but the glare off my head is probably blinding. But anyway, so what's going on? I've been at the mechanic all day long in the shop. I mean all day long, and I'm going back tomorrow. So I'll talk about what's going on with the truck as as far as uh, why I was in the shop and why I'm going back. But let's rehash. I just checked. I haven't uploaded a video in about a week, so let's talk about what's happened since then. Um, So I had that load that went from, so I deadheaded from Oklahoma City to Kansas City, Missouri, picked up a load going to Orlando, Florida, and then I deadheaded from Orlando, Florida to Augusta, Georgia, picked up a load in Augusta going to Birmingham, Alabama, and then I deadheaded from Birmingham, Alabama to Knoxville, Tennessee, grabbed a load from Knoxville, Tennessee going to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then I deadheaded from Tulsa to my house and I arrived home Friday night, and it is Monday afternoon at 6:49 p.m. local time, Central Time, right now. Um, so it was a pretty decent week. Mainly, the whole week was anchored by the Florida load. The Florida load was a $5,000 load. I made like $3,300 on the load. I can't remember exactly how much it was. I made like 3,300 on that load, and then somewhere around $1,200 on each of the other two loads. I remember the total on the week gross to the truck was around $5,400, somewhere in that area. So a pretty decent week. The Tulsa load was absolute garbage. I only took the Tulsa load so that I could get home so I could put my truck in the shop. It was better than deadheading. I made $1,000 on the Tulsa load, and it was like 1,000 miles. It was $1 a mile load. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have hauled that load. And the broker lied on the weight. It was listed as 1 pound, not unknown. 1 pound. I mean, you can put weight on the load board as unknown if you don't know what the weight is. They didn't do that. They put 1 pound. So I was expecting that this was styrofoam or something that you couldn't easily weigh that was really light. And then I get there and it's pallets of glass. It's heavy ass glass pallets. Like these pallets were only maybe like the product that was on the pallets was probably only about a foot, about 12, somewhere between 12 and 18 inches on top of the pallet. And then the pallet itself is what, like 4 to 6 inches tall. Um, it was floor loaded, not double stacked or anything, just floor loaded almost all the way to the rear, with little bitty pallets of glass, and it was like 43,000 pounds. There's no way I would have hauled a near max weight load at $1 a mile going 1,000 miles. That's crazy. So I was quite upset when I found out how heavy it was, but I didn't find out how heavy it was until I got the bills in hand. Trailer was already loaded. That's some shady crap that brokers will do to move loads. Is they'll put misleading information or just flat out lie on the load, and then you don't find out until after it's in your trailer the truth. And they'll lie about appointment times and stuff. Like they'll put an appointment time where it's only like a 1 day load, and you can deliver it on Saturday. You pick it up on Friday, deliver it on Saturday, and they'll lie and say you can deliver it on Saturday. Then you get there and they're closed until Monday. Brokers will do shit like that to move a load. Hate shady brokers. So that's Oklahoma City. Let me refresh. This one's Tulsa. Um, the Tulsa is set to only show $3,000 or more, and it picks up Kansas City. Um, and we got a few loads over 4 grand. This Florida load, I'm tempted to snag this thing up and go back to Florida again. We'll get to that in a minute. And what's this other one? Fontana. Man, California loads are hot garbage right now. There is trash. There's dollar a mile loads coming out of California. I mean, absolute trash coming out of California right now. The LA market, I've never seen a dollar a mile load coming out of LA. There was a load on here. I'm not seeing it right now, but it was on here earlier today. It was like 2,300 miles paying $2,500. Once you take your 65% cut off of that, you're making less than a dollar a mile. You're making probably like 80 cents a mile. And LA is one of the best markets. So I don't know why in the hell these brokers are listing this stuff so cheap in the LA market. These are just trash. I've never seen anything this cheap out of LA. This is just absolute terrible loads. These are the kind of loads you normally get going into LA. Now I know California went into another lockdown. I haven't really been following it, but maybe the lockdown has something to do with it. I'm not sure. I don't know what's at play here on why Los Angeles is just trash on it. This might just be USA Trucks load board. It may not be like this on DAT or Landstar or 123 load board or whatever other load boards. It may not be like this, but on USA Trucks load board, the brokers are listing loads coming out of the LA market at like dollar a mile. It's just absolute garbage. So stay away from California. Oh, and I checked Northern California, Tracy area, and it was not any better. It was trash as well. Maybe that's where I saw the dollar a mile load was in the Northern California market. So why was I in the shop? Why did I take that load back to Tulsa to put my truck in the shop? Okay, so while I was down in Orlando on Monday, last Monday, it would be a week ago today, my APU stopped working. Now the APU runs great, starts up, runs and everything, but none of the electrical worked. There's a lot more to this story, but I don't want to drone on for like 20 minutes explaining every little detail. Basically, the electrical stopped working. I spent an hour and a half in the parking lot at Love's tearing the thing apart, looking for fuses and breakers and everything else YouTube and forums and manuals suggested to check, and I couldn't figure it out. So I was without an APU, and it starts costing me quite a bit of money to be out on the road without an APU. It's probably somewhere in the area of an extra $30 a day average in fuel costs, because the APU uses probably on average somewhere in the area of 0.15 gallons per hour, whereas idling the truck uses probably on average 1.25 gallons per hour. It's a huge difference. Like, I can run the APU for 8 hours to every 1 hour of idling the engine. And so yeah, I wanted to get the APU fixed. So I had to idle the engine the rest of the week that I was out. And I also had a squeaky, squealing belt. Like, sometimes it would get to squealing so loud that people would be like looking over at me like, what's wrong with your truck? So I had a squealing belt on the main engine. Electrical was out on the APU. And my main engine was due for preventative maintenance. Every 20,000 miles. So it had hit the 20,000 mile mark since the last PM. So I was like, you know what? I need to get a shop. And if I get all this crap fixed out on the road going to dealers, this is going to end up costing me $2,000 to $3,000 to get all this work done at dealers. If I go to Big Rig Product in Oklahoma City, I could probably get all this crap knocked out for around $1,000. So that's what I did, is I tried to get back to Oklahoma City ASAP. Ends up there were a lot more issues, and the fix for the electrical was a lot more expensive than I anticipated. Now, it's still going to be a lot cheaper than a dealer, but it's going to cost me a lot of money to get everything fixed. So I got to Big Rig Products at like 6 a.m. this morning, and they worked on my truck all day long. Now, they didn't start working on the truck until 8 a.m. I drive down there and I get there before rush hour traffic, and I just go to sleep in the truck and wait for them to get there at 8 a.m. And that's what I did. That's what I always do when I go there. And they did the PM on the truck. They found the squealing belt and they replaced it. They did the PM on the APU. The electrical issue ended up being a lot more expensive to fix than I thought it would be. It wasn't a breaker, it wasn't a fuse or anything like that. It was the main control board. Not the control unit that goes inside the truck, but the control board that's down there with the air conditioner. They had to take the control board out, which is a major pain in the ass. And it was $500 to buy a new control board from the dealer. And that fixed the issue. My electrical is all working again with the APU. And I was also having other electrical issues. I was having a lot of electrical problems. Number one, I was getting low voltage issues. Like whenever I would turn on my microwave, I couldn't run my microwave with the APU running. Now, I used to be able to run my microwave with the APU running and not have any issues. But what started happening was every time I turn on the microwave with just the APU running, my inverter would start beeping like crazy, basically giving low voltage errors. And the microwave would never get the stuff hot. I could have something in the microwave for 10 minutes and it would come out and some of it might be a little warm, but it would mainly still just be like cold. So I had to run the microwave with the main engine running, which I didn't used to have to do that. So something changed. And so that was one of my electrical issues. The other electrical issue was that used to, whenever I would turn the truck off, as long as I didn't run something like the microwave, just with my inverter going, powering my TV and my computer and my refrigerators and stuff like that, I could sit there all day long for at least 8 hours. If the batteries were fully charged, I could sit there for at least 8 hours before I would get any kind of power issues. The batteries just got really low and, the inverter started beeping at me or the truck started beeping at me, telling me the batteries were getting low. Well, for the last month or two, it's been I in order for me to have my inverter running, I had to have the truck or the APU running constantly. As soon as the truck or the APU shut off, my inverter would just start beeping, low voltage, low voltage, low voltage. So I had them check the batteries for that issue. And there's one other thing I forgot to mention. And I'll go back to that in a second. When they were checking the batteries to figure out why in the hell I can't run off the batteries for very long, I had them check to see if I had a bad battery. And sure enough, I have 4 batteries and one of them is bad. So, one bad battery. And whenever they took the case off the batteries and we were looking at the batteries, you could see a melted electric line and there was some type of fuse or breaker of some kind that was just melted. And they said that was for my inverter. They said that whoever installed my inverter did not put the proper gauge wire. The gauge is too high. On wire gauges, the lower the gauge, the thicker the wire. So this was higher gauge than it was supposed to be, and it basically was heating the line up and caused it to melt. The breaker or fuse or whatever it was melted. Another thing that they found on the electrical, this is the part that I forgot to mention earlier. Whenever they were troubleshooting the electrical issue, one of the first things they checked was the capacitor. And the capacitor is supposed to run at 40 Volts or some crap like that, UF. I don't know I don't understand it. But it's basically how much power it puts out in voltage and amps. And it's supposed to put out 40. And whenever they tested it, it was only putting out 16. So they replaced the capacitor. That did not fix my electrical issue, but that was a problem. So that is probably why, like, all these things combined are probably why I wasn't getting enough power and why my batteries weren't lasting very long. So everything is fixed with the truck except two things. The battery, they didn't have one in stock, and that was one of the last things they did at the end of the day. It was like after 5 p.m. So all the part houses were closed, and it was time for them to go home for the day anyway. So they couldn't sit around and wait for a half hour or an hour for a part run. And they didn't have the part in stock for the wire. So I'm going to end up going back tomorrow. Well, it's just a couple hours from now. And they're going to replace the bad battery and replace the wire from the inverter. They're going to rerun the wire for the inverter and get a lower gauge or thicker wire for the inverter. And then all of my electrical issues should be resolved with the truck. It doesn't squeak and squeal anymore. And we got a PM done on the APU and the main engine. So yeah, we're all good to go. I haven't paid them yet. We haven't got. They want to do it in one big bill, so they want to wait until after we get done with the rest of the stuff tomorrow. So yeah, that's. I'm not looking forward to this. This is probably going to be a $2,000 bill because it's going to be at least $500 extra for that circuit board. That's $500 I was not accounting for. I thought the electrical issue was simply going to be a breaker or a fuse that I couldn't find. The capacitor, they didn't even talk to me before they replaced the capacitor, so I'm suspecting that the capacitor is not too expensive, less than $100. So $500 for the circuit board, $100 for the capacitor. Those batteries are not cheap. It's probably going to be about $150 to $200 for a battery. And then the wire is also not cheap, but it shouldn't be insane. If I hope they go full copper wire, and full copper wire at that gauge is going to be pricey. That's probably going to be $100 for like that. I think they said that they need something like 8 feet or 16 feet of really low gauge copper wire. So it's probably going to be at least, at a minimum, $700 more than I was expecting. I was expecting $1,000 bill. It's probably going to be at least $700 more than that. So I'm expecting a $1,700 to $2,000 bill. But, you know, what can you do? I'm looking for loads to hit the road on so I can make some damn money. I just spent like every penny I made last week getting the truck back up and going. So let's talk about this Florida load real quick. This thing is the last load that I took. This is picking up in the exact same place. This isn't the right page. That's the Oklahoma City. Right here. This one's the Tulsa. So the last load that I took last week, the one from going from Kansas City to Orlando, it was picking up in the exact same place. So it's this one right here. And this doesn't pick up until next, is the 7th next Monday or Tuesday? Sunday. The 7th is Sunday. So it picks up Sunday the 7th. Huh. That means I would sit at home all week. Now this thing pays like $700 less than the last Florida load. It's like 150 miles less. And it's northern Florida. Let's see this. Alachua or Alachua, I don't know how it's pronounced, Florida. This is like really it's north of Gainesville. It's just a little bit north of Gainesville. It's basically Gainesville. but it's way up in northern Florida. It's not too far south from I-10, so it's not like I'm going to be driving 3 or 4 hours from central or southern Florida to get back up to the north. Let's see where it's at real quick. I'll show you on a map. Alachua, Florida. So it'd be pretty much the exact same route that I took last time. You see Gainesville's right there, so it's like 5 miles, 10 miles north of Gainesville. It's probably an industrial park at the edge of Gainesville. Let's measure distance. Can I measure distance on this one? I cannot. Yeah, it's quite a bit further north. I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on it. Let me throw it in the spreadsheet and see what I make on this load. Where's that? I'm probably just going to keep looking throughout the week because that's paying a little low for a Florida load. All right, let's switch this over to the spreadsheet. All right, so up here on row 7, this is the Auburndale, Florida, the Orlando, Florida load that I took last week. So this one is 200 miles shorter and pays $700 less. All right, so what do I... So I make $500 less basically on this load. I made $33.35 last week on the Florida load, and this one is $28.52 is what I would make on this load. It's a 3-day load just like the other one. Now let's go back over to the browser. It's after 5 p.m., so there's not going to be like new loads being posted on here. I mean, it's possible, but unlikely. So let's just refresh. These loads will just slowly be disappearing. I suspect that this Florida load's going to disappear pretty quick. Just because people want to stay south right now. They don't want to get up in the northern half of the U.S. because there's a lot of bad weather up there, especially over in the New York, Pennsylvania area. Which is making me think I should probably go ahead and pull the trigger on this load because it's probably not going to stay long. Huh. Let's check this area. What's this? This is Fontana. We can use this one. Let's check Montgomery, Alabama. 250-mile radius around Montgomery. And just see what's out there. Nothing. That is a cheap load going all the way to Nevada. McCarran, Nevada? I'm pretty sure that's Vegas. No, it's Reno. Nevada, Reno market. McCarran. I'm trying to remember where... I can't remember where McCarran's at. So that's way up off I-80 in northern Nevada. That is really cheap. All right, let's check Atlanta. See if there's something a little bit further east. We got one more load. Piney Flats, Tennessee to Springfield, Oregon. Another really, really cheap load. Who hauls this crap? You have any idea how bad of a drive this is in winter? I-80 in winter. Both of these loads are I-80 going across Wyoming in the winter. Like, screw that crap. I mean, they'd have to pay me a lot of money to get me to do that. And that's neither of these loads are paying a lot of money. These are dollar a mile crap, both of them. Huh. I think I'm just gonna wait and see what other loads are posted tomorrow. That Florida load doesn't pick up until Sunday. I don't really want to stay at home that long. If I have to, I will. I whenever I first initially when I went out on the road this time, I thought this was going to be my last time on the road with USA Truck. I was going to stay out on the road for 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks, and that was going to be it for me with USA Truck. Um, I suspected that my next load that I pulled would be with Landstar, but I had these issues and I had to put my truck in the shop, and I was only out for a week. So now I have to go back out again. I would prefer not to sit at home for another month like I did last time. I would prefer. I was hoping that I would be back out on the road tomorrow, but that's not happening. I'm going to be in the shop again tomorrow. If I'm at home for a week, that's fine. I really, really don't want to be home for more than a week. And I'm hoping this time when I get out on the road, I can stay out on the road for a while and get at least 2 or 3 weeks of money. That's the plan. But I was watching the load board all day long while they were working on the truck. And there are not a lot of good loads. The Midwest seems to be the best place. I go and I look over on the West Coast and it's cheap crap. I look on the East Coast and it's cheap crap. The Midwest, right here in the Kansas City area, is freight's doing quite well there in Kansas City. And I think also up and down through Wisconsin and places like that. Let's check real quick. Let's check Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let's check it over here on this one. Let's leave that one on Oklahoma City. Green Bay, Wisconsin. 250-mile radius. Wisconsin to Levittown or something, Pennsylvania. That's a decent paying load, but it's going into a terrible market. That's Philadelphia. Let's check Chicago. Illinois. This is going to be close to the same area, but it's a little bit further south. Got some more loads. Everything is going into the Northeast. Okay, we got 2 loads. One of them's going into California. Cheap dollar a mile crap. And here's one going to Raleigh, North Carolina. That's paying decent. Doesn't pick up until February 9th, 8 days from now. So yeah, up and down the central United States is decent freight. Now down in Texas, not so much. Texas usually just kind of sucks, especially the further south you go into Texas. Down around Houston, freight is terrible. And this is a USA Trucks load board I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything else. The spot market may be phenomenal, or Landstar's load board may be phenomenal in areas where USA Trucks sucks. Who knows? But yeah, I'll just keep checking the load board, looking for a load out. But definitely everything should be resolved tomorrow. I'm highly confident that everything with the truck will be resolved tomorrow. And I'm really excited to have my APU working again. I really like my APU. Once you've had an APU, it's really hard to have, to be in one of these trucks without an APU. My APU is amazing. I love my APU. So it really frustrates me whenever it goes out, and it goes out a lot. But I mean, it's like a comedy of errors with the truck. Almost all my issues with the truck have been with the APU, and a lot of it has to do with bad mechanics, bad installation people. They break things whenever they're trying to repair something, or they don't install things correctly. It's just so frustrating to deal with mechanics. There's just so many bad mechanics out there, and they charge crazy amounts of money for being as bad as they are. One of these days, my plan is to sell this place. I don't like living in town, especially in a major city. I don't like. That's one of the reasons I got back into trucking, was so that I could move out into the country. Because whenever you're having to commute every day to an office, you can't live, out in the country. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't want to, spend 2 or 3 hours a day commuting. So I'm hoping one day to sell this house and move out in the country. And I would like to have a place where I could park the truck at my house with a trailer if I need to. And I can do my own work on the truck at my house. Have a barn big enough, or some type of building that's big enough that I can park the tractor in there. Maybe not a tractor and a trailer, but at least the tractor in an enclosed space, so I can work on it in all weather conditions. And I can do some of this work myself. I'm the only person I really trust to do this stuff, so that would be nice. But that is probably at least 2 years away, and that's if I bust my ass, because I've got to spend a lot of money renovating this house to get it in condition to sell, because it was a major fixer-upper whenever I bought it, and I've already dumped a lot of time and money into it, but it still needs a lot more time and money to get it in a condition to sell. In the current condition, if I sold it, it would probably be break even for me. I might even lose some money on the house, and I'm not at that point of desperation where I'm willing to lose money or break even on the house. I'm not seeing any new loads. And yeah, it's 7:20 p.m. There's not going to be. It's highly unlikely there's going to be any new loads posted. Let me think of another freight market that I could check real quick. Let's check Northern California. This might be where the dollar a mile crap load was I was thinking of. $4,500 to go 2,400 miles. No, this one, there was one that was even cheaper than this. This is really cheap. These loads are normally like a minimum of $6,000. These loads are normally upwards of $8,000 or more to do these loads. Why do they think people are so desperate to get out of California that they're willing to take loads this cheap? I don't understand it. All right, what's another freight market? We could check Pennsylvania, the deep northeast, and we'll check York, Pennsylvania. That's up in the deep northeast, and see what kind of awesome there is up there. Okay, here's one going from Glendale, West Virginia to Tampa, Florida. Almost all of the loads USA Truck has coming out of Glendale are tanker endorsed loads. And they're usually decent paying loads. They're not very common that they're posted. I've never been in a position where I could haul one, but they're bulk liquid containers, most of them. Let's check and see if this one is. Yeah, bulk liquid container. Let's see if it says in the notes it needs tanker. Yeah, tanker endorsed, load bars or straps required. So I can haul that. I have all the endorsements. that picks up in 2 days. There's no way I'd be there to pick that up. But that's um, Tampa, Florida. Shit, that's way down in Central Florida, down by Orlando. So that's going from a really trash market to a really trash market. I'm not even sure I would be willing to take that load. Usually, the loads I've seen coming out of Glendale that are paying about $3 grand, they're going to like Alabama, places like that. For this price, I would definitely take it to Alabama, but not to Central Florida. Here's one from Sayreville, New Jersey, going to Garland, Texas. Texas Dallas market. $2 a mile. I mean, that's actually a decent load for the Northeast. You'll occasionally see some really nice loads in the Northeast on USA Trucks load board, but they're so incredibly rare. This is the best of the best in the Northeast. What is another market to look at? Let's go ahead and check. We'll check Southern Texas and then Central Florida. Austin, Texas. That's a pretty central place down there in Southern Texas. We should get San Antonio, Houston. All right, now this is only showing loads over $2,000. Is it 2 or 3? No, it's set to $3,000. Let's set it to 2. Oh, there's a decent number of loads. Let's see. Northeast, 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 northeast. So there's 2 loads not going to the northeast. They're both going to Moorhead, Kentucky from San Antonio. And they're both like cheap loads. Everything on here, even the loads going to the northeast, are cheap crap. And what do I mean by cheap crap? Anything $2 a mile or less is cheap crap. Anything close to $2 a mile is cheap crap, because I only get 65%. So on a $2 a mile load, I only make $1.30 a mile. I don't like to run my truck at less than $1.70 a mile. $1.70 is my goal. Like $1.50 a mile is kind of like my cutoff point. I really don't haul anything less than $1.50 a mile. The load I took from Knoxville, Tennessee to Tulsa, Oklahoma was $1.40 a mile. And I would not have touched that if I would have known it was going to be a heavy load. It was a near max weight load. It was already below my threshold of what I'm willing to really move the truck at, but it was going in the direction I needed to go. And cheap freight like that, you typically, like I explained earlier, you run into a lot of issues with cheap freight because the brokers lie to move the loads, and then the type of people that you're dealing with on those loads are people that are bare minimum people. If they're going cheap on moving the freight, they're typically going cheap on everything else as well. They're going cheap on their labor costs, so they're understaffed in the warehouses. They're using the cheapest freight mover possible. They're using the cheapest warehouses possible. They're buying the cheapest crap they can. These are the type of companies that are typically going cheap on everything. And you have to deal with all that when you're moving the load. And I don't like it. I don't like dealing with all that crap. So that's a lot of the reasons why I don't haul cheap freight, other than, just the obvious reason of it just is cheap. It doesn't pay anything. Like, it barely covers fuel costs. So yeah, all of these are like really cheap loads. These are $2 a mile loads to go to New Jersey. $2 a mile load, $1.30 a mile to go to Jersey. A lot of people's true operating cost on their truck, once they calculate in maintenance and everything, your true operating cost on the truck is usually around 90 cents to $1 a mile, somewhere in that area, depending on how nice your truck is and stuff like that, how expensive it is. So if it's costing you 90 cents to $1 a mile to move your truck, then if somebody's paying you $1.30 a mile to move a load, how much are you making? You're making 30 to 40 cents a mile. Why the hell are you bothering with being an owner operator? You can go be a company driver and make more than that. It's not worth your time. $2 a mile loads are just absolute trash that I don't touch. What is that Florida load that I was thinking about hauling? That thing pays me what it pays me. Let me tell you what that load is, because all right, it is 4222 1077. Let me break out my calculator. The Florida load is $3.92 per mile. $3.92 per mile for this load right here going to North Florida. $3.92 a mile is how much that load pays. It's basically twice as much as these $2 a mile crap loads that I don't touch. And what I make per mile on that Florida load is $2.65 per mile. So on that Florida load, I make $2.65 a mile, and on this cheap crap down in Texas, all of this crap, the full rate of the load is $2 a mile. That kind of puts it into comparison there. So last week when I was on the road, the Florida load that I hauled was, I believe it was $2.47 a mile. Let me double check it. No, the Florida load was $2. I got it backwards. The Florida load was $2.74 per mile. The Augusta to Birmingham load I hauled was $2.80 a mile. And then the Tulsa load that was really cheap that I normally wouldn't haul something like that was $1.40 a mile. So most of the loads that I haul are in that like $2.50 to $3 a mile range. That's what I make on the loads, is like $2.50 to $3 a mile. So yeah, I don't really, I try to avoid hauling cheap crap. I'll set and, play video games in my truck for a couple of days and wait on a good load rather than just haul some cheap crap just to keep the wheels moving. So I take a lot of time off when I'm out on the road. I try not to run a lot of miles. This last week that I was on the road, I ran a crazy amount of miles. It was like 3,500 miles in the week. So, but that's mainly because I was trying to get back to the house, and I put a lot of miles on the truck getting back to the house. Yeah, I tried to string together some loads to get back to the house, and it included a lot of deadhead miles. And there was a huge deadhead just to get out of Florida. I would have had to do that no matter where I was going. But anyway, I think I'm going to cut this video right about here. I'm going to get up like 5 a.m. I should be at Big Rig Product by about 6 a.m. And I told Trey I'll just be parked out there asleep. Just whenever you're ready for me, just wake me up. And so I'll just get out there at like 6 a.m., go to sleep, and he'll probably wake me up by 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. whenever he gets the parts in. And then we'll put the truck back in the shop. And it shouldn't take him very long. It'll probably take him like 30 minutes to an hour. It's not going to be, I shouldn't be there all day like I was today. I was there from like 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. I was there for 12 hours today. Tomorrow should only be like 30 minutes to an hour. Just to replace a battery, that's really fast and easy. And then rerunning the cable, that will probably take him about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. Replacing the battery will probably take him like 5 minutes. The majority of the time is going to be rerunning that cable. And it's mainly going to be a pain in the ass to just, really honestly, most of running the cable is not going to be a pain in the ass. It's a really easy, it should be really easy for him. So yeah, I'm expecting to be there for less than an hour, and then I'll be back at the house. Um, I slept a lot today. Well, I was sitting in the truck. I was just sitting in the sleeper of the truck and playing on the phone, and I would just look at the load board, and then I would, you know, fall asleep for 30 minutes. So I took a ton of 30-minute, hour-long naps throughout the day. So I might not be able to sleep tonight. So I might stay up all night, drive over there, take a nap, and then whenever I get back to the house, I might be really tired and go back to sleep again. Who knows? But I'll be checking out the load board tomorrow, looking for something to leave the house on, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be really nice to have all of this fixed because some of these issues are major issues that just popped up recently. Other ones are things that have been lingering issues that have been happening for the last 2 or 3 months, like the belt squealing. That has been going on for about 3 months. The electrical issues with the truck, that's been going on for about two months, maybe 3 months, 2 to 3 months, on the electrical issues with um, the minor electrical issues, and like the batteries not holding enough of a charge, and all that stuff that's been going on for like, so all most of the things that were fixed or are going to be fixed have been going on for like 3 months, and it's going to be nice to have them all finally corrected. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.